Good evening. I'm going to call to order school committee session on Tuesday, January 27th. We are now in open session. We actually did not have an executive session today. First item on our agenda, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the reading of our mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing a rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Next item on the agenda is public comment. If there's any member of the public who is attending this meeting who wishes to address the school committee, you may make your comments or concerns right here. I'm not seeing anyone besides people I know. I don't think I'm checking here. So I'm just going to give anyone a chance to speak. I don't see anyone. Going once, going twice. Okay, we are now going to move out of public comment. Next item on the agenda is the Student Advisory Council. I don't see any students here today, so I assume that we do not have any students that are going to give us an update. Okay, seeing no students, we're going to move on to the next item of the agenda, and this is our consent agenda. Kevin, I believe we have a motion.
Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2026 and January 20th, 2026 Policy and Communications Subcommittee meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that motion? All right, seeing no hands, we're going to do a roll call vote because we are in Zoom meeting. I'm just going to go around my Zoom. Pete Davis.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Stephen.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. I think I hit everybody. All right, so the motion passes. The minutes have been approved. I believe we have no budget items today, although I do see Christine here, so no budget items, so we're good. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our superintendent's remarks. Dr. Lyons, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. With the permission of the chair, I'd like to take my items out of order.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. I'd like to start off with capital. Tim O'Brien has been up for probably about the last 20 hours, managing kind of the movement of snow and digging out our schools. And so also want to thank him and the facilities team, all of our custodians, and everybody involved, including DPW, for all of their help over the past 2 days. So we can start off with capital, Tim, if that's okay with you, if you're ready.
Absolutely, of course. Yeah, just to echo what Doug said, we've had a lot of good attitudes over the last couple of days, done a remarkable amount of work in conjunction with DPW. Really proud of my team right now. So I just want to start with that. Like I said, really just great attitudes, no complaints, just getting out there and getting it done. And the work continues. So we're hauling snow right now, probably till 2 or 3 in the morning in order to get school open for tomorrow. And so a lot of help from a lot of different people around town. So thank you for that. And I'd like to apologize for the hat. I just got home and then I took the hat off. It looks like birds moved in, so I had to keep the hat on. So we'll start with Tier 1 capital requests, beginning with the Greenwood School, a feasibility study at Greenwood. Doug and I have been talking a lot about the potential for an ad reno project at Greenwood. This is sort of the foundation for looking into that. So we would, this is actually on the low end budget-wise for this sort of study, but we think this is what it'll take to get that done. Doug, do you have anything to add there, or do you want me to continue on?
Yeah, I can just add, we looked at kind of information that has been provided to us in regard to the ADA accessibility of the school or the lack thereof. And we looked into kind of what would it cost to bring the school up to kind of code or where it should be in regard to ADA accessibility. Then we looked at kind of other things in the school. And then we realized that it's instead of kind of doing it in parts, it's just not cost effective. We need to do kind of a larger, just a facility study, top to bottom, just to understand kind of how the school is performing and what the shortcomings are, and not just in parts. So that's what has resulted in us kind of moving forward with this capital ask.
Excellent. Moving down to district-wide ask. This is a sort of a cherry on top to the Genetec software and cameras that we added just a few years ago, you might remember. Right now, we're functioning on WinPack for our door software, which is, as I'm informed, it's a Windows 95 product. There is absolutely zero encryption involved in that program. So this would sort of bolster our security, which is something we're always looking to do. This is an add-on to the existing infrastructure that we have. It would, like I said, make things a lot more secure when it comes to access control in our schools. And so 127,000 is oddly specific. I have a quote with a state-approved vendor who does these sort of installs for us, and that's why the specific ask. That's a not to exceed number, and I think we'd be right there in the ballpark. It is definitely a worthwhile endeavor. It's one of the things that we discussed when we had the Ed Davis company come through and do a security assessment in each of our buildings. And again, another thing that we'd like to check off the list of suggestions that we had from them. So that's the story there. Moving down to another district-wide ask. We are looking for an additional activity bus. These are 14 passenger buses. Right now we have 2 of them. We have another which will be going for auction as it's sort of aged out of the program, no longer functional. So we'd like to add an additional bus. We find that throughout the district, between athletics and other programs, they're constantly being used, and that even when they're all booked up and people are using them, we have people always coming in to ask for a bus. So we'd like to add an additional activity bus to the fleet. It helps us in many, many ways. Small school field trips, and like I said, athletics as well. We find more and more some of our athletic teams are using these buses driven by coaches to get to games and whatnot.
Tim,
sure.
Tim, can I ask you a quick question? I might just miss it, so maybe one of my colleagues can jump in. Do we have a list of these requests? I just don't see it in the packet, but I might miss it.
I shared it with Ian. I'm not sure if you got my email. You were probably busy. I can share it with you. Let me see.
If I'm missing it and I just can't find it.
No, I had previously shared it with the Finance and Facilities subcommittee and neglected to share it with the larger group. I can do that right now, Kevin.
I got it. Thank you.
You got it. I also sent it to Kevin and Steve, and I'm not sure if either of you had it as well. So, and Alex, I owe you that as well.
Yeah, just got it.
All right.
Thank you, Tim.
Of course. Sorry about that. So we're moving down to an additional district-wide ask. This is sort of a request that's in both the schools and in conjunction with our town IT department. And this is something that the 2 departments have sort of been in cahoots on. And I've asked Doug a little bit, if he could help me in the explanation of this, as I wasn't present for the presentation, so I don't have all the hard facts here.
Sure. Happy to jump in. We're presenting a joint capital ask between the schools and the town for technology. This is something that has been historically been funded by the town. We met with members of the town IT department, and really what predicated that was an opportunity for us to really kind of take advantage of resources in terms of grant funding from the state. And so we're looking at kind of doing a joint capital ask. So because what happens is the town in the past has paid for the maintenance and upkeep and replacement of switches in our IT rooms in our schools. And so that has resulted in kind of it's can get quite expensive, and the age of the equipment is really an issue. And so what happens is we're just trying to plan ahead and not be reactive to this, but be more thoughtful and proactive in this space. We also can take advantage of state support in this process. So, what has happened with Donna Cushman taking over in technology for on the school side, we've learned that we've been kind of leaving some money on the table from the state if we kind of do some joint work with the town, and that's what has prompted this kind of ask. And so we're putting it on our capital list, and I believe Todd is putting it on his capital on the town side as well. We'll see who takes priority, but it's not asked for two times; it's asked for once. But we're just really trying to think ahead and support the schools, and also to take advantage of state support and kind of how they support kind of this work over time. And so, and just to be clear, this was a question that came up at Finance and Facilities. Is this for all of our schools with the exception of the high school? And the answer is yes. So the high school, we're building a new high school. We're not replacing anything right now. We're not building anything new in the existing high school. We're just maintaining in the current high school that we have. So that is a kind of a quick summary of that work. Happy to answer any questions that anyone might have on that.
Okay, so that is the final request in tier one. That is a total of $372,000 in tier one. Moving down to tier two at Galvin. This is something you might remember from years prior. We are requesting to fund the replacement of the non-functional fly system in the auditorium. This is something. It's $350,000, which is a large ask, and I'm certainly aware of that. It's something that I would love to be able to fund in our revolving account. However, our revolving account is never going to reach that level. There are many, many other things that have to happen prior to being able to save up this kind of capital in that account to do it. And so that's why we're requesting it on the capital requests. This is something that we have an electronic fly system at Galvin that was, obviously original to the building. It's become non-functional. We, despite our best efforts to bring in vendors to bring it back up online. Go ahead, Doug.
Tim, can you explain what a fly system is?
Sure. So the way I understand it is it's basically the curtain system and how we suspend things on stage in the auditorium. And also, as Tom Bankert tells me, you can either have an electronic or a manual fly system. Our preference would be a manual fly system so that we don't run into this issue again. It's not run by software, it's physically run. This is something that Tom also believes is valuable training for students who are in a drama program. So if you're running the fly manually, there's some valuable experience involved there. So that's sort of the thought process here, and why we're again asking for that in tier two. And the reason it stays in tier two right now is because this is something that's a high priority for us, but this isn't something that sort of makes or breaks us on a daily basis. It makes us a little less attractive to potential renters, which is an issue. But it's something that we're working with currently and hope to improve in the future. Any questions there in tier two? That's 350 total, 350,000 total in tier two. Go ahead,
Tim,
Stephen.
can I just real quick? The high school, the new building, does have a manual fly system,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to carry best practices and learn from, some shortfalls in the past and things that we didn't know maybe would be an issue for us when we built Galvin, but are learning from and trying to put things in place for the new school. So thank you for that. Moving down to tier 3. This is at the Walton School. Door number 6 is the door that faces down the hallway if you're coming from Davidson Circle, where the drop-off is for parents. It was not part of the ad reno that occurred in 2018. It is an aging door. There's some rot that's materializing there. We've done our best to stop it in its tracks. It currently is not a security issue or anything of that nature. It will be in the future. So that's why we're dropping that in on tier 3. As you have situations like snow up against that door, it's going to continue to eat away at that, salt on the ground, those sorts of things. This will become an issue. It would be fully justifiable to replace it right now, but we just want to get it on the radar and hope that we can get that done on the short term. That is the total for tier 3 at $15,000. If anybody has any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. Kevin.
Tim and Doug, last year, what percentage of our tier 1 requests did we get from the town, if you remember?
I can refer back to the sheet. I'd have to dig for a moment. I may have to get back to you on that, Kevin.
That's fine.
I will say here that the capital committee has been good to us. They are a very reasonable group. I think if we present the information correctly, they fully they're pretty lockstep with us. They understand when we're concerned about certain security items and things of that nature. They've really been good to us in the past. And I think we're being reasonable as well with the things that we're asking for. We have been able to fund a lot of items such as these in the revolving account, which it is supplied by our rentals. So I really tried my best to make investments into the district, in athletics, in facilities, and in performing arts through that fund. So we really only put things on here that we wouldn't necessarily be able to fund through that account. And Kevin, I'll do a little review and get you those numbers.
So I think, Kevin, in terms of tier 1 asks, I want to say we probably got 70 or 80% of what we asked for last year in tier 1. We also kind of offset some of those costs in revolving. I think Christine Buffagn has been the architect of how and where in working with the town might we best support, right? And also really objectively in terms of what we can afford, right? And so I saw you came off mute, Christine.
So I just want to jump in because this is usually like the kickoff to budget, because we put our high priority asks to the capital committee, which will probably be, Tim and I will be meeting with them in a week or so. But we have conversations based on what the capital committee can fund and what our priorities are, but not everything can be funded. As you'll remember last year, we made a huge investment in new communication systems with our walkie-talkies, which we realized capital couldn't fund. So we were able to do that from the local budget and with the revolving account. But, we can only talk about these revolving accounts so much because we can only spend down as it's appropriately funded. So, what we're tasked to do is to maintain this health and safety of the buildings. So this is our top priority. Tier 1 is our top. As you'll see, like the tier 2, that's been on the list for a couple of years, but that would be a revenue generator for us. So we know it's a large ask. So I think that's why it's still there, because the capital committee recognizes that instead of just doing one project, maybe we can do two or three. But we were able to do to get our TVs at all of the schools. Health and safety has been one of Tim's top priorities since he's been here at Wakefield. So we were able to advance technology and safety. But I think that's why the top tier is really important for us to finish that project. So the 127 is, I would say, one of our top priorities. But again, knowing what will get funded and what won't will help drive our budget conversation.
Stephen?
Tim, if we could just go back to two of those tier one requests. I just want to get a little bit more information on the Genetech system. Is that that 127, does that encapsulate effectively changing sort of the back end boards and controllers? And then I assume it's going to be a complete software swap. So there's going to be some significant programming that has to occur, as well as some training. Is all of that encapsulated in that 127?
It is, and that also
Great.
includes the touch points as well, the access points themselves, and the wiring that may need to change that goes along with that. So yes, all of those things. And that was something that a big driver of this as well, and something that I've spoken to the vendor at length about, is access control training for our folks who are kind of manning our front doors.
Yep.
It's one of the big concern of mine, like as Christine says, naturally is security. And one of the big issues there is access control. And this is a national thing. This isn't unique to Wakefield. We just want to make sure that there's training involved. So when someone rings the bell, we're not, getting a quick look and saying, oh, okay, buzz them in. We want to make sure that there are, questions that are asked, things of that nature, and that keep us all safe. And that's a big duty that we have on these folks who control those doors. So we want to make sure that we're providing the proper training and thought process that goes into that in keeping everybody safe.
That's great.
And if I could also just, oh, sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Christine. No, go ahead.
Nope. I was going to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about the activity bus. But Stephen, if you still have a question about,
can I finish my Genetech and then
sure, of
my
course.
The activity bus will be my next one. So I would just mention, Tim, us having Genetech for a video platform and then going to access control, there's an opportunity there to tie those things in together, so that if we are getting alarms and alerts, we can push video with that as well to give a little bit more situational awareness for those folks that you had just mentioned. So,
right. And that's the reason why we wanted to go with the Genetech product
Great.
Because it stays in that same security. It lives in the same security suite. So the folks that have access to that software already will now just get an additional option and we can control with this software, we can control the timing. So when somebody buzzes in, we had found in WinPack that we had a 9-second delay before that door relocked. I've reduced 99% of our doors to a 4-second delay. That way that door re-engages and is secure much faster than it had been prior. So there's just that really takes down the amount of piggybacking that happens. Somebody goes out a door or into a door and somebody's able to reopen that right away if they wanted to. So these are just some fine tuning that is incredibly important to me. I think the devil's in the details on these things. And so it's something we really need to pay attention to.
That's great. Jumping to the activity bus, all I really wanted to say about it was in leading with sort of our Green Communities pledge as Wakefield. I know we've talked about using electric vehicles sort of where we can in fleet management, knowing that we can't do a lot of that with our our current sort of bus contract provider, but we can with our activity buses. So as we go out and we look and we search, it'd be nice sort of having that idea of maybe going to an electric or a hybrid solution would, I hope, be front of brain, especially as we have sort of some electrical infrastructure coming along with the new high school. I think, and the way that the buses get used, I think they're prime candidates for that type of switch. So just something that I hope we can kind of keep part of the conversation.
Absolutely. We've investigated that avenue a little bit, and they're a little less available in the activity bus in the 14 passenger size as they are in like a Bluebird or a larger bus. They become a little bit more rare, but we're digging in and looking at that as a cost comparison and as a potential possibility.
Great.
Thank
you.
I just wanted to stress about the activity bus because, as you know, we went out to bid for transportation, and the only bidder was North Reading Transportation. But for our after-school activities with field trips and the amount of students that are involved in extracurricular activities, sometimes we need to rely on these activity buses in addition to NRT transportation. So having this third bus would be critical to these programs. Sometimes we just need, now, of course, you'd also need a coach or somebody to drive. So we have that as well. But this would just be a game changer for us in after school because sometimes NRT doesn't have a bus to make it to all of the track events or to all of the field trips. So having this extra activity bus really is critical for us.
Kevin?
I just have a question. It might be more for you, Doug. Want to talk a little bit more about the feasibility study at the Greenwood and just kind of situate that maybe within like future goals for where potentially a project could be. I know just having received taxes recently,
Yeah.
the towns, certainly the taxpayers have spent a lot of money and have committed to a lot of really good projects in town. So I just want to be sensitive to that and kind of where we are and that where would this be in a best case scenario? I know this is just very, very early in any kind of potential process. It's a feasibility studies, but can you maybe share a little bit more about how that would impact or what a timeline would look like? Are we talking a decade from now? Or are we talking sooner than that?
To do an ad reno with the support of the state, it would take a decade. And so we're just trying to plan ahead, Kevin. And so we know, for example, the high school project started when I came to Wakefield 11 years ago, and we are not done yet. We'll be moving in about 11 months. Very, very pleased with the progress that we've made there and the support of the community. But we're also trying to be thoughtful and pragmatic, right? We don't want to get out 5 years from now and then think, oh my goodness, Greenwood is really a problem for us because of ADA accessibility, because of heating and cooling. There's no cooling in the building, and the heating system is in kind of an antique in and of itself, right? If you're over there in the winter, please, I love the radiant heat with the radiators, and I love the school. I think it's built really well. We just have to bring it up to date, and we're just planning ahead, right? So this is like, putting an oar in the water, just trying to progress a little at a time, so that when the opportunity presents itself for us to write a statement of interest, to move that forward to the state so that we can be accepted into the grant process. And then, so for that process to kind of take its path and its course, we're talking 4 or 5 years. And then 5, 6 years after that, likely we would be kind of, you'll see the construction would be happening. If we're accepted um, into the state grant. And so, this is really just thinking ahead in terms of where the town is, right? So we're kind of looking to the future. We don't want to be stuck. If you remember, when we started with the high school, the statement of interest that we submitted was the fourth statement of interest because we had been rejected 3 previous times, right? And we just don't want to be in that cycle. We want to be thoughtful and planning ahead. And so again, it allows us time to pivot, but it also gives people information that they need, right? As we're already seeing an increase in some of our students in our enrollment from the units at the head of the lake, and they are not all online yet. So we're just trying to be thoughtful about how Wakefield is growing and how we can accommodate the needs of students in the next decade.
Great, that's helpful. And that's what I had assumed. So I just wanted to make sure people kind of understood that this doesn't mean this is something we're going to look to be doing anytime soon, that it's just kind of pre-planning. And certainly we've been talking about Greenwood for, I think, as long as I've been on the committee, including 1.0. So it's definitely something worth looking into. But that clarification is helpful. Thanks, Doug.
Of course. Thank you for the question.
Okay, any more questions for Tim? All right, Tim, thank you so much for the presentation.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Tim, you don't have to stay on, my friend. Please get a little rest, and thank you so much for your work.
I appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And so Tim's been amazing for us. Our whole facilities team has been kind of working overtime since Sunday. They've really done a great job. And so kind of next up, I'm working kind of from the bottom up on our agenda. I'm going to ask Kara to give an update on our SPED report from DESE and kind of the actions that we're taking from that report.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm reporting out tonight, but I definitely want to give a ton of credit to Rosie Galvin and the special education team and Shannon Blacker as well, who did the bulk of the work for the integrated monitoring that just happened. So we had a representative from Department of Ed, from the Public Monitoring Office, come and do a thorough review of our special education process, procedures, classroom observations, staff interviews, a full analysis of special education across the district, as well as some civil rights policies and procedures as well. And I have to say, overall, the full report will be available publicly. And what they do is they go through several different standards and then let you know if you need corrective action in a certain standard. So I will say, for all of the review, the only area where we needed corrective action to show some updates was related to our physical restraint policy. The policy is good, but they wanted accompanying procedures that were clearly outlined. So that's something, as a next step, that I'd like to work with the policy subcommittee and Superintendent Lyons on to review recommendations from our attorney around what those procedures should be. And then it would be something that the subcommittee reviews and ultimately the school committee approves. That would be the corrective action that we would need to take. I'm not too, it's definitely a technical aspect that's important, but I would say, in terms of practice, every year our staff at every building is trained in our safety care, physical restraint training. We have reps, part of our building crisis safety teams, who have that training. And our physical restraint data as a district overall is minuscule. We have a heavy emphasis on de-escalation strategies, and then we do report to the state every year if any restraints do need to occur. But I would say that overall, in terms of following the appropriate process, procedures for special education, the technical aspects of that, as well as our the development of our in-district programming, were all highlights. I mean, that doesn't mean that everything's perfect in special education. There's always room to grow. But from an oversight perspective, I think Department of Ed felt that we were in pretty good shape overall. So I can answer any questions, but I think that covers most of what's going on. So we had a meeting with the representative who did the overview, and we'll be submitting our intended action steps to respond to the corrective action that was cited, and we'll put a timeline, ideally in the spring, that we would have that approved by school committee, if that works for all of you. That's the ideal.
Okay, are there any questions for Kara? Kara, I just have one quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this an annual report, or is this something that happens every other year, every 3 years?
So in my previous, I have to be 100% up to speed, because like I said, Shannon and Rosie took the lead on this. In my previous experience, it was every 7 years or so. Doug, I don't know if you caught the timeline and how often. And then there was like a 3-year check-in, but go ahead.
No, I think you have it spot on. It's a 3-year
Okay.
check-in, right? And so
Yeah.
this is formerly the coordinated program review. It's now changed its name. It's the same standards, the same assessment.
Yep.
And so, and Kara's working very closely while Rosie's on leave. Kara's working very closely with Shannon Blacker. You know, I think the community and the school committee knows in Kara's former life, she was a special education director. So this is kind of right in her space. And so I think overall, having one finding in regard to just really how we publicize the work that we do in regard to restraint is really it's positive. So, you know, but we need to kind of improve our communication in this area, and then kind of improve kind of how we do things in that area. So, so there's no negative findings. It's more kind of technical findings around policy. So there's no issues with how we're doing our practice, how we're supporting students, how we're supporting families. And so it's more about the technical aspects of policy and the technical aspects of really communicating about our training. And so again, there'll be more information forthcoming on this. But I appreciate Kara sharing the information that you shared.
Yep.
Other thoughts, questions?
Okay.
No, thank you so much.
No problem.
So just kind of moving up the list, the 26-27 calendar was put on the table in the last meeting. The idea was that we would put it on the table, get any feedback that anyone may want to provide. We have not gotten any feedback. We've worked really hard and included all stakeholders in this process. We feel like this is kind of a unique situation for us, and we've really kind of tried to put in the hours on the front side to make the calendar the best it can be at this point, right? We know, with the new high school coming online, that this is kind of a unique situation.
Okay, so I think we have a motion on the floor. So I guess we can make the motion, then open it up for discussion. If anyone has any comment.
Move the school committee approve the FY 26-27 draft calendars as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion has been seconded. I'll do a roll call. Well, actually, first, but sorry, before we vote. Now that's seconded, does anyone have any comments or questions? Pete.
I just have a question, Karen. I didn't notice until a few seconds ago, so apologies for not sending it earlier. I just looked up the Juneteenth. Sorry, I was looking the wrong year. So Juneteenth 2027. Okay, it is. It's on the 18th. So that looks good. I was double checking that one. So I'll just add less of a comment, but just re-echo what I had said last meeting, Kara. I appreciate all the effort you put into coming up with these different calendars, and maybe just an assumption that assuming it gets approved in a few seconds, it will go up maybe on the website under news tomorrow-ish or later this week, or when would people expect it to find it there?
Yeah, we'll definitely want to get that up right away on our website and on our social media, because I know I've already gotten some emails from parents. I think people are really looking for this to be settled so they know what to expect and can start planning. So we'll make sure it's public right away.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Pete said. Carrie did a great job. I kind of had a front row seat this year in JLMC, etc., and seeing literally the document would go up. Great feedback from the WEA, and just really good collaboration. Yeah. And Carrie, well, oh, okay, oh, you want conferences here or 2 days, and then it would literally be shifting in front of you, and it's a lot harder than it looks. You would think it's pretty easy.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation,
things like that. There's a lot, and with the two, and like you did a great job. And thanks to everyone in the WEA, et cetera, that really was helpful too. And getting that feedback was really valuable. So it's a great calendar.
I agree. It was great feedback. I think the final product is really strong. I think it'll work well for everyone.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a A roll call vote. Pete,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Kevin, Piscatella,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Steven.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Your box moved. And I vote yes. Motion passes unanimously. We now have a calendar, so everyone knows. All right.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Kara. And thank you to the WEA as well. They were instrumental in helping us put this together. I feel like they are tenacious advocates, really, to help us improve our calendar in the space. So thank you. Just a few other comments and updates, and just in terms of comments, we are in the throes of budget right now. Christine and I are working quite a bit. I had two meetings today. One was the Metco legislators meeting, which is largely a budget meeting. And so kind of the Metco directors and the superintendents were able to advocate directly to legislators to talk about kind of challenges with the Metco program. For the last few years, the budget for the program has really not met the needs of the program. It has largely resulted in the district, or it largely resulted in kind of level funding, or what is appeared to be level funding. With the increased costs in transportation that are a one-for-one pass-through, it results in us picking up the additional costs that the Metco grant cannot cover. So in terms of the Metco directors, of which Galavia Smith, our director, is the president of the Metco Directors Association, her and her group today did an amazing job, as well as Dr. Candace Sumner, the new kind of director of Metco Inc. in Boston. And so that was a productive meeting earlier today. We also had a legislative update from the Mass Association of School Superintendents and the director from MASS, Mary Burke, who talked a lot about kind of legislative priorities. It's still early for the state. Tomorrow, Governor Healy will be making public her FY27 budget, which is kind of what they call House One. And so that's just the initial draft. It is far from done, but that's kind of where we're at. We have been advocating for kind of greater support through Chapter 70. We need greater support in transportation, greater support in healthcare costs, as well as in special education. So our district, like many of our surrounding districts, our resources are really going into those spaces in a disproportional way that needs to be kind of better supported from the state. So we're working with our legislators on that, more to follow, and we're also working very, very closely with the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee as well. But that's kind of a quick update there in terms of where we are with the budget process and what's happening at the state level. I have only one more comment. I don't know if anyone has any questions on the information that I've provided in regard to the budget. No? Okay, thank you. I have just one more comment, and just a reminder. There's a CPAC coffee social on Friday at the Inspire Cafe. Again, it's a coffee social put on with CPAC at the Inspire Cafe downtown. It's from 9:30 a.m. to 11. And so that's Friday morning. And so I think myself and a number of the administrators are going to try to kind of get over there, even if we can stay just for a little bit, just to say hello, just to support both CPAC and the Inspire Cafe. But that's it from us. And thank you, everybody, for being so flexible with snow days for the last few days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lyons. Next item on the agenda are my comments. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to the DPW. Thank you, Tim O'Brien, and our entire administrative staff for dealing with all this snow. I know that I think a few parents were frustrated that we didn't have school today, but then when I woke up and saw the additional 4 inches of snow that seemed to have fallen after I went to bed. Absolutely, great decision. And I know that superintendents have to deal with this everywhere, where you'll have some people complaining, no matter what decision you make. So it's a thankless decision. So I want to appreciate all the work that's been done. Um, the second thing I wanted to bring up, one thing that school committees are charged with is communicating adequately to the public. And even looking at the Zoom meeting, it's just reality, not good or bad. It's just the truth. We don't really have that many people watch our meetings. And after talking with a colleague that I work with and looking at what town council does, I think it would be a good idea if I actually did something to try to reach out a little more to the community. So I just wanted to let people know that I'm going to plan, starting really with this meeting, that after our secretary, puts together the minutes for the meeting, I want to put together a short, almost like a newsletter, to basically summarizes the main points, the highlights of things that happened in the meeting, and then send it out, to a community-wide email to the community. Nothing crazy long, but I just want everyone to be able to have a resource where they can look and actually see what happened. I know we have a great local newspaper that does report on major things that happen, but I just wanted, something to go out, almost like a newsletter that would just pretty much summarize the main highlights for each meeting. My goal is not to get that out tomorrow. My goal would be if we have meetings every 2 weeks. Deadline for myself probably the Monday after. I know town council does it way quicker, but I just don't have the bandwidth with my job the next day. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that. I'm going to try this out. Okay, and that is it for me and my comments. Next item on the agenda are our subcommittee reports. Finance facilities, Mr. Markham.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. And for whatever it's worth, I think that's a terrific idea. It'll be a heavy lift for you, but it's probably certainly well worth it. So thank you for taking on the newsletter task. The Finance and Facility Subcommittee met on Friday, January 16. Our next meeting is actually this coming Friday as well. So as referenced earlier in Tim's comments and as well as Doug's comments, we've been actively engaged and engaging with the administration in the preparation of fiscal 27's budget materials. The two primary topics that we discussed on the 16th, which really consumed most of the meeting, even though we had some standard agenda items. We were joined at the meeting by Tim O'Brien and by Tom Bankert, and we had a lengthy conversation around the capital plan that Tim reviewed with the group, earlier tonight. We had a really engaging conversation, ability to ask Tim and Doug and Christine the types of questions that each of you had, as well as really digging in. We asked questions about things that didn't make the plan, right? The plan that the administration works on and gets ultimately presented to the school committee, and then ultimately, of course, to the town, goes through numerous iterations before we see it. So we wanted to see what the type of things that were on the administration's priority list, but really didn't make the cut this year. I think Doug said it best, that we need to recognize and appreciate the affordability of certain items, and we need to prioritize those within the larger context. So so we had a lot of very good conversation on the capital plan. The next thing that we discussed at length were the use of fees. We had a conversation around both student activities fees and building rental related fees. That's not a precursor to any sort. That's not a tip off that a proposal is coming about raising fees. But it is a thoughtful conversation that needs to be had. As we are seeing, much more difficult budget years, fiscal 27, 28, 29. It's important that we have the conversation in a public and a transparent way. So there was some really good information shared, and that was really the principal driving force to why Mr. O'Brien, why Mr. Bankert. Oh, and I'm sorry, Michael, the athletic director, was also with us. So the conversation obviously was really driven by some information and input from the athletics department as well as the performing arts department. So we've asked some questions of the administration, and we'll be picking that topic back up. So it certainly will be something that will be shared with the full committee when there is actually some more information to share there. But I thought it was important to specifically call it out. So when it does come up as a talking point in budget presentations in the next couple of months, it's not the first time that anyone is hearing that. That was pretty much the Finance and Facility Subcommittee meeting that we had a couple weeks ago. As I said, the next one is this coming Friday. While I have the opportunity just to update, also wanted to speak to one of the agenda items that we had last week, although we didn't really spend any time on it. Was the town council last night held a public hearing on the naming of certain facilities in the new high school. The ability or the recommendation to carry forward the names both in memorial as well as in recognition for four major spaces. That goes back to really some part of the initial conversations that were had back at the beginning of the planning when the first school building committee was established. And working with the school committee at the time, working with the permanent building committee, and certainly numerous and appropriate comments from the public about expectations of spaces that are held dear to our community and are held dear to the spaces within the high school that are named after significant contributions made by individuals. So. I was there just to represent our work and our history going back to, as I said, the school building committee of a number of years ago, as well as the school committee of a number of years ago. And there was a good discussion held at the town council public hearing last night on that. And I'm certainly pleased to say at the end of the conversation, the council voted 6-1 to carry forward the recommendations of the school department as well as those of the permanent building committee to name the four new facilities in the new high school that would be comparable to those that presently exist. Those four facilities being the Sean F. Beasley Memorial Track and Field, the Chardonnay Fieldhouse gymnasium space, the Dennis O'Leary cafeteria, and the Volpe Library and the Governor John Volpe Library. So those were the four names that were up for a public hearing, and they were voted in the affirmative to carry those names into the new building. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Off your memory, around what time last year did we have that meeting with FinCom members, I think town council, the one we had at the Galvin?
So we actually have a date for that on our draft budget calendar. It's March 15th. Christine, help me. No, not the 15th. It's the 11th?
14th.
14th.
The 14th.
14th.
Okay.
So So that is baked into the draft, the calendar, this year that the administration and the subcommittee has been working off. And it was about that time, about early mid-March last year too.
Okay, thank you. No other questions or comments? Okay, next, labor and personnel, Kevin.
Thank you. Labor and personnel actually hasn't met since our last meeting. We had a couple sessions that had to be canceled due to illness or yesterday due to snow. Our next meeting is a negotiation session with the WEA, and that is scheduled for Thursday of this week. So hopefully we'll get back on track with that. So hopefully we'll have an update at our next meeting.
Thank you. Student services, Stephen.
Student services has not met since our last meeting.
Okay, thank you. And policy and communications, Melissa.
So we met twice since our last meeting. The first was to finalize any additional questions that people had around policy book B, board and governance, which we have a motion for tonight. And then to discuss our status for policy book I, which is covers instructional policy. And that's it.
Okay, so I think we have a motion on the floor.
Move the school committee on the table section B as presented.
Second.
All right, motion has been seconded. Up for discussion. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
So I can just give a quick overview too, so people know what policy book B is about. Board governance is kind of a very general term. It basically covers a lot of things like what the operational goals for the school committee are, what our legal status is, what the school committee's powers and duties are based on Mass General Law, what our relationship with the superintendent is like, since he's technically our only employee. It covers things like what happens if a member resigns? How do we fill an unexpired term? How do we talk about improvement plans? And how do we operate as a board? What agendas are supposed to look like? Who our officers are? So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much for that description.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none.
Tom has one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that, Tom. Sorry.
No, not a problem. My only comment is really a thank you to Melissa and the policy subcommittee. This is a huge lift that happens, every number of years. It's appropriately done so, but it's a ton of work. And as someone who would not want to take that on, just for full disclosure, I I thank you for taking that work on our behalf. Thank you.
All right. I'm sure that feeling is felt around the committee.
Although I do appreciate you guys having any ideas or if things can look better or if we've gotten things wrong, to absolutely reach out to me and let me know, and we'll amend them.
Melissa, there's no way that what you are doing is wrong. We have full faith in your talents here.
All right.
All right. Okay, so we'll move into a roll call vote. Stephen.
Yes.
Pete.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So the motion passes. Liaison reports. Does anyone have any liaison reports from any previous meetings that have happened after our last? I am seeing none. All right. Okay. Next item on the agenda are future dates. Our next school committee meeting is on Tuesday, February 10th at 7 o'clock. If there's any agenda items that anyone has, please either tell me now or send them to me via email. We'll make sure that it goes on.
Do we think we'll have an executive session at that meeting, Kevin?
We are definitely going to have an executive session at that particular meeting.
Okay, so probably start at 6 then.
Yes, executive session will start at 6.
Okay.
Correct.
So we just laid policy book B on the table for everyone to review, and I'd like to have on the agenda that we actually vote to approve it at the next meeting.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yep. And the agenda for a vote. Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda, school committee comments. Does anyone have any comments? Oh, come on. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, Stephen. You have a hand, Stephen.
Because I'm surprised I just haven't heard it yet. Congratulations to the Bye Bye Birdie cast and everyone that put that show together. I just thought it was great. The amount of kids that were engaged in that was really impressive. And there was just some like top shelf talent all around, everywhere from back of house to front of house. It was very impressive. And I know it was such a time commitment. So I don't know what everyone's going to do with their free time now. But that was just amazing. So thank you to, sort of the theater group for putting that on. One other sort of more, maybe, I don't know if it's personal or not, but in terms of, I was walking into the Boys and Girls Club last Friday, and I bumped into Mr. Hurley, who is the lower house assistant principal at the Galvin. And he was walking the Boys and Girls Club across the soccer field with a couple of students, some younger, like 5th graders. I joked to him that I thought he was doing door-to-door service. It was weird to see him on this side of the soccer field. And he just let me know very matter-of-factly that there are some kids on the field that can seem a little mean to some of the 5th graders, some of the smaller students. So he just kind of escorts them, or he or another staff will escort them across the field over to Boys and Girls Club, just to give them make sure they're comfortable and give them sort of a safe way to get from A to B. And as small of an act as that might be, it just sort of took me for a moment. So I sent him my sincere appreciation, because I feel like that is a core value to Wakefield Public Schools. And just knowing how he's helps those kids sort of feel safe and secure. And we always talk about having that sort of trusted adult in our district. And I definitely saw that in his work with those students. So just, I'll say to him, thank you for everything he does, and to every other staff member that does actions sort of across the district. I just don't think I don't think we shine a light on them enough or see them in enough places. So I felt worth mentioning. That's all.
Thank you, Stephen. Dr. Lyons.
Yes, just to add to the Bye Bye Birdie production, I want to thank Elton and the students for pivoting. Instead of doing one show a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they pivoted because of the snow and did a double header, 2 shows on Saturday, which was just, I'm sure students must have been and adults must have been exhausted at the end of that day, but really nicely done. Nicely done. And thank you to Tom Bankert for also being involved in that pivot as well. Thank you.
Any other comments? Right, seeing none. I have one more comment. I know I earlier talked about, thanking the superintendent and the school side for working with all, the snowstorm. But I have talked personally, and I know we've all talked about collaboration between the town side and the school side. And obviously, I want to thank D. Casey, our new town administrator, and all the town workers that were obviously very instrumental in cleaning up our schools and making our town safe to be driving around today. So thank you. And Stephen, I think, we definitely recognize big events, right? All the time, but I think it is important to acknowledge those little moments that you told us all just then. I think that's very important too. So thank you. All right, seeing no other comments, All right. Well, I think we have a motion to adjourn.
Move the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, January 27th, 2026.
Second.
All right. Do a roll call vote. Stephen.
Yes.
Pete.
Yes.
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
Evan.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Good night, all.